The clock in the corner of the monitor flashes 3:15 a.m. You are sitting in an underground server room 50 meters below the surface at the Ministry of National Security, your bloodshot eyes glued to the lines of code scrolling across the screen. As a senior cryptographic engineer, your daily routine is incredibly tedious, but entirely safe. Patching firewall vulnerabilities to prevent Western intelligence from infiltrating the nation's intranet. You care nothing for politics, ignoring the bloody purges happening on the surface, living only for your encryption algorithms and a salary just enough to grant your family the privilege of buying food at state-run stores. But that false peace shatters the second the steel biometric door of the server room is blown open by explosives. 4 black-clad operatives armed with assault rifles storm in, violently dragging you from your chair before you can even comprehend what is happening. Without a single word of explanation, without a trial, you are hauled down endless concrete corridors and thrown into the back seat of an idling armored SUV. The vehicle speeds off into the night. As your eyes adjust to the dim interior light, you look in horror at the man slumped beside you and realize it is the 4-star general commanding the strategic rocket forces. He is dead, a bullet hole drilled dead center in his forehead, fresh blood dripping onto the matte black titanium briefcase resting on his lap. The squad commander in the front seat turns around and tosses a blood-smeared biometric scanner onto your chest. He coldly informs you that the general was caught attempting to sell the launch protocols to the CIA, and because you were the one who personally wrote the core encryption for this system 3 years ago, you are the only living person capable of bypassing the security failsafe. The general's heartbeat sensor has flatlined, meaning you have exactly 10 minutes before the nuclear briefcase automatically hardlocks forever, turning the nation's entire strategic deterrent into useless scrap metal. If you fail, you will immediately receive a bullet just like the corpse next to you to ensure absolute secrecy. Your hands tremble as they touch the blood-stained keyboard, cold sweat pouring down your face as you realize you are hacking into a weapon of mass destruction. You must discard every safety protocol, using the very backdoor access you secretly built years ago to bypass the firewall of your own design. In the final seconds before the countdown expires, you make the split-second decision to temporarily synchronize the system with your own heartbeat and retinas to keep the data stream alive. The briefcase screen flashes a steady green, signaling the system is back online. You exhale, preparing to ask them to hand the source code over to another general, but the vehicle suddenly slams its brakes in front of the fortified bunker gates of the dictator's palace. The supreme leader steps out, his piercing gaze sweeping over the traitorous general's corpse before locking onto you and the briefcase now pulsing in rhythm with your chest. He smiles, a smile that freezes the blood in your veins, and declares that from this moment on, you will never return to that underground server room. You have bound yourself to this briefcase with your own life. As of tonight, you are no longer a nameless engineer. You are the man holding the key to tens of millions of lives, the inseparable shadow of the most powerful and dangerous man in the nation. The transition from a lowly engineer to the keeper of the nuclear launch codes is brutal and allows no time for adaptation. The titanium briefcase, weighing exactly 17 kilograms, is now permanently locked to your left wrist by an uncuttable polymer-coated steel cuff, the only key held by the supreme leader. You are relocated to a lead-lined apartment right next to his bedroom, guarded 24/7 by the Royal Guard. Men who are ready to blow your skull open if you miss a step or fall more than 3 paces behind when the leader is on the move. You begin to understand the ruthless laws of survival at this echelon of power. You are the dictator's inseparable appendage, but also the prime assassination target for both foreign intelligence and rebellious factions within the military. Every day, you must continuously verify the self-destruct encryption chains and cycle the quantum communication frequencies with the 3 intercontinental ballistic missile bases hidden deep beneath the northern mountain ranges. The outside world often imagines the nuclear football as just a red button, but in reality, it is an ultra-secure computer terminal connected directly to the early warning radar network. You learn how the underworld truly operates as you watch the supreme leader use this briefcase not to destroy the world, but to extort superpowers. Whenever the national economy runs dry or sanctions tighten, he orders you to elevate the briefcase's alert status to DEFCON 2. You type the command lines that trigger the liquid fuel loading sequence for the missiles. Instantly, American and European spy satellites detect the anomaly. Global stock markets plunge, and a few days later, anonymous cargo ships filled with food aid dock at the ports in exchange for you typing the command to lower the threat level. You are playing a game of poker with the lives of billions, and you begin to realize just how addictive supreme power can be. But that complacency is quickly extinguished one afternoon while you are running maintenance on the briefcase's cooling system in the equipment room. The Minister of Defense, an ambitious veteran who has always coveted control of the arsenal, enters the room with two intelligence officers. He smiles sinisterly, sliding forward a classified dossier containing fabricated evidence that you are leaking encryption data to the CIA via microwave signals emitted from the briefcase. He gives you two choices. Either secretly implant a malicious code into the system to give him the power to override the supreme leader in an upcoming coup, or your family back home will be blacklisted as traitors and sent to hard labor re-education camps. You feel cold sweat trailing down your spine as you realize you are caught in a vicious political chess match. Refusing means your family dies and you face a firing squad, but agreeing turns you into a puppet of the military, and the supreme leader will undoubtedly skin you alive if he finds out. For the first time, you cannot use logical algorithms to solve a problem. You must resort to the dirty tricks of the elite. You nod in agreement with the minister, taking the flash drive containing the malware. But the second he leaves, you open the briefcase's command line interface, not to install the virus, but to set a sophisticated digital trap. You reroute the briefcase's intrusion alert system to report directly to the Supreme Leader's personal pager, displaying that the very IP address from the Minister of Defense's office is attempting to brute force the briefcase. You are gambling with your own life to see who strikes faster, and power is no longer just lines of numbers on a screen. It is the death hanging over the head of your enemy. Your life or death gamble yields bloody results less than 48 hours later. In the middle of the Army's anniversary gala, the Supreme Leader coldly signals the Royal Guard to drag the Minister of Defense away from the banquet table, right before the stunned eyes of hundreds of high-ranking officials. Standing directly behind the dictator, feeling the heavy pull of the briefcase on your wrist, you silently watch the once powerful general get gunned down right on the red carpet of the main hall for high treason. The Supreme Leader's gaze shifts to you, holding a ruthless approval and absolute trust. From that moment on, you are no longer just a codekeeper. You officially become an irreplaceable political pawn, granted unprecedented direct access to the nation's vast intelligence network. Power comes with massive sums of money flowing into your anonymous Swiss bank accounts, a reward for your loyalty. But it also paints you as the #1 target on the maps of Western espionage agencies. Everything escalates on a stormy night when you are escorting the Supreme Leader to a secret underground bunker to inspect the latest miniaturized tactical nuclear warhead prototype. Your armored convoy is suddenly ambushed by a squad of elite mercenaries equipped with anti-tank weapons and EMP jammers. They are not aiming for the dictator. Their target is you and the briefcase. The shockwave from a javelin missile flips your SUV, slamming you violently against the chassis, your chest screaming in pain and your wrist bleeding from the biting steel cuff. All around you is the deafening roar of machine gun fire and the screams of fallen guards. The briefcase's warning system blares with piercing sirens, its screen flashing a maximum level physical breach alert and preparing to trigger the core data self-destruct sequence within 3 minutes. If the data is wiped, the entire missile network will fall into an indefinite hibernation state, and the Supreme Leader will undoubtedly execute you himself for the failure. A mercenary rips open the vehicle door, pointing a suppressed assault rifle straight at your head, demanding you unlock the briefcase with your fingerprint. He is a foreign operative, ordered to extract the core algorithm rather than destroy it. In a split second hanging by a thread, you realize the briefcase is not just a command terminal. It contains a built-in high-voltage capacitor designed to fry the physical hard drive in emergencies. Instead of yielding, you pretend to tremble as you enter the password. But you are actually overriding the circuit to discharge the current directly into the outer titanium shell. Thousands of volts violently shock the mercenary the moment his hand grazes the handle, sending him into violent convulsions as he collapses, foaming at the mouth. You grab his dropped weapon, pull the trigger, and put another bullet into your enemy's chest without blinking, then use his body as a meat shield to crawl out of the burning wreckage just as reinforcements arrive. You survive, but as you look at your own blood-soaked hands under the pouring rain, you understand that you have entirely crossed the line. You are no longer a coerced engineer. You have become a true monster of the regime, fully willing to take another's life to protect your power and your own survival in this brutal underworld. That stormy night extinguishes the last shred of humanity in you, turning you into a calculating, ruthless machine, no different from the AI system controlling the missile trajectories you wear on your wrist. 4 years pass, and you are no longer the trembling shadow trailing behind the Supreme Leader. You now sit at the same table with him in the armored Oval Office, sipping $6,000 wine while discussing the fate of neighboring countries. The nuclear football has been upgraded to a third-generation model, lighter, integrated with eardrum biometrics and low Earth orbit satellite uplinks, but its invisible weight is more colossal than ever. You realize that this weapon of mass destruction is actually the most perfect money-printing machine ever created. When the national treasury runs dry due to the latest UN oil embargo, you do not wait for the leader's orders like before, but proactively propose a campaign to manipulate the global financial markets. You set up a network of front companies and anonymous trading accounts on Wall Street through proxy servers located in tax havens. The plan is simple but insane. You heavily short sell the futures contracts of the world's largest defense and energy corporations. The second the trades are matched, you calmly type the command sequence triggering an unannounced nuclear drill, launching 2 medium-range ballistic missiles that skim the airspace of a Western allied nation before crashing into international waters. The world immediately plunges into panic. Global news channels broadcast non-stop, sirens wail in major capitals, and the stock market evaporates trillions of dollars in mere hours. But in your soundproof underground bunker, you just smile, watching the profit numbers dance across the liquid crystal display. Your shadow empire has just generated $4 billion in clean cash, completely legal on paper, more than enough to fund the nation's weapons program for another decade and fill your personal vaults in Switzerland. However, absolute power always comes with extreme paranoia. You begin to suspect everything around you, refusing to eat anything not screened for toxins 3 times, and always sleeping with a pistol under your pillow alongside a monitor flashing the Supreme Leader's heartbeat. You know, the CIA has formed a special task force dedicated solely to hunting the Code Keeper. You and the bounty on your head on the dark web has exceeded $100 million. The sensation of supreme power intertwined with utter terror creates a toxic adrenaline that makes it impossible for you to stop. You are dancing on the rim of a volcano, knowing full well that one day this system will collapse. But for now, you are the man holding the button that controls the world, and you savor every 6 seconds of that domination. 6 years pass, and the gilded empire you helped build begins to reveal fatal cracks from within, not from foreign pressure, but from the rot of the supreme ruler himself. The Supreme Leader, once a razor-sharp strategist, is now nothing but a frail, paranoid old man, eroded by terminal cancer and frantic megalomania. Deep within a bunker, hundreds of meters beneath granite mountains, the air is thick with the smell of antiseptic and the sheer terror of the royal guards. You stand beside his hospital bed, the steel cuff connecting you to the 4th-generation nuclear briefcase, now feeling like a suspended death sentence. As medical reports confirm he has only hours left to live, the dictator's cloudy eyes flash with a spark of madness, and he whispers the order for you to activate the Doomsday Protocol, a preemptive, full-scale nuclear strike on the world's 3 largest superpowers. He believes that if he must die, the entire world must burn as burial goods for a king. The room sinks into a deadly silence, leaving only the rhythmic hiss of the ventilator and the gazes of his 4 most loyal guards aiming their rifles at your back, waiting for you to type the confirmation code. You look down at the touchscreen blinking blood red, demanding the iris and heartbeat scans of both you and the dictator. If you comply, billions of people will vaporize in mushroom clouds. If you refuse, your skull will be blown apart instantly, and a backup engineer will be brought in to bypass the briefcase. The illusion of power and the massive fortunes in Switzerland suddenly become meaningless in the face of absolute annihilation. You realize the only way to survive is not to obey, but to exploit the very absolute security mechanism you personally designed. You slowly reach for the control panel, pretending to initiate the biometric authentication sequence, but your thumb silently flicks a microscopic mechanical switch hidden beneath the rubber padding of the handle. This is the final failsafe you secretly installed, allowing you to reverse the electrical current from the briefcase's radioisotope thermoelectric generator. You let out a scream, violently ripping the cable connecting the Supreme Leader's heartbeat monitor and jamming it straight into the briefcase's communication port. An extreme high-voltage surge shoots backward, short-circuiting the dictator's entire life support system, sending him into violent convulsions before his breathing stops instantly. Before the guards can pull their triggers, the sudden flatline in the leader's vitals triggers the briefcase's automated defense system. It vents a dense cloud of weaponized aerosolized nerve gas from its cooling vents, blinding the room and incapacitating everyone around you within seconds. Holding your breath, you grab a combat knife stripped from the belt of a collapsing soldier and mercilessly hack off your own left hand, leaving the bloody cuff and the briefcase on the floor. Enduring a mind-shattering pain, you hastily bind the stump and plunge into the darkness of the ventilation shafts, knowing that international special forces are already on their way to breach this bunker after receiving the hidden distress beacon you just transmitted. You have lost your supreme power, lost a piece of your own body, but you have clawed your life back from a system you once arrogantly believed you could control, stepping out into the unknown as a hunted ghost.